Welcome everyone, I'm JP.
And this is Big Guy.
This is Pack and Draw, where we open a pack and then draw the card later. Let's see what we got. Go ahead. All right, good pulls. Feeling good here.
I'm feeling lucky. Snubbull, Tauros, Rookity, Galarian, Mr. Mime, Electrite, Rowlet, Lugia, Fighting Energy, Big Parcel,
Parasol, yeah.
Pierce, Vanillish.
I think I could try Snubbull just to try something different. Okay, let's get drawing. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the drawing part. Here we're going to do Snubbull. So we have our basic sketch here all laid out, and we have our card there. So let's get going here. So I like to start with a thicker marker. Kind of work around the head part a little bit. So he has kind of a chubby head, and in this interpretation, again, ours is always going to be a little different. We're going to have, his ears are flapping. His ears are pretty big, but since he's in motion here, they're going back in perspective. So they seem like they're kind of smaller because they're kind of turned. So we see them on the side. Because he's moving, they kind of flop back, kind of like hair on anyone else would work. So we're going to really use this marker here to get that head shape in there. We have the foot in the foreground. So, and then his left, and then his right kind of going backwards. So just we got to keep everything going here. I'll work this way. As you guys remember in the past, sometimes things get smudged, so we want to keep this as clean as possible. You see it in the card there. The ends of these are darker. We're not going to fill those in, but you get the general gist of it. I'm going to actually have this. I think I'll cut this up a little bit there. I won't have a meet yet because I think I'm going to use the smaller markers to work on some of those details, like rounding off the shapes and so forth. So far so good. You can kind of see some of those shapes working there. Let's work in some of these here. Or sorry, these two. Probably cuts in a little more, but you get the general idea. While we have this here, let's work on, let's see here. I think I'll take a number. Yeah, this will work. Let's try this one here. So actually, I'm going to go back to this thicker marker here for this kind of jowl, or kind of like the bottom part of his mouth, as you see that there. And we'll use this for the nose part here. And this seems thin enough too. Let's work in the eyes a little bit. You can see it's like I really come in. We'll get those details up there later. And almost like how my sketch had two lines there. Kind of add that there. These are more rounded here. I'll round that off there. I'll fill these in while I have this. There, this one I had a little sharper, but I'll round it off here. So that looks really good. Let's give some shade to the side of this nose. There. And just make sure everything's in frame. Since we have this here, actually I'm going to flip back to this marker. And there you go. Add those cuts. That's where kind of like the black end parts will work. It's coming along really nicely. Let me get a thicker marker for this kind of in-between part here. Oh, this will work out perfectly. So kind of like when this comes up here, I don't want it as thick as the thickest marker I have. This is his mouth, kind of like the mouth opening part. And then I'll have, that's kind of like the inner part. So what this does is it kind of comes across here like this. Like so. It's a little hard to see there with his tooth kind of coming off. So I'll bring this up here. We'll just have that kind of cut off. There you go. You can kind of see how it all comes together. Maybe I should move that up a little bit. No big deal. It's all about having fun, kind of getting in some of those different elements. You can see his mouth. That's the inner part. Maybe I'll fill that in with black, see how that looks like. Let's work on some of these other areas here. This is kind of like part of his clothes, the Under Armour part, like right underneath his neck. It's actually come along pretty nice. And then we'll work in some of his arms. Snubbull has really small arms. That one's kind of going backwards. This one's kind of raising up. And then we'll work on his clothes here. Kind of sees all these sharp marks or kind of cut off part of his clothes. This part kind of raises up. And you can kind of see like him like lifting it up under there. Make sure everything is looking good. It is. And then, yeah, it's coming along really nicely. Then I'm going to start working on, so actually, I'll flip over here to the thicker marker. Since this is closer to us in space, let's use a slightly thicker one. And I'll actually come down a little bit there. And notice I did not go in front of that. What I have there is some debris kind of being kicked up. Actually, I'll use that for this. Kind of just doing the shadow part of these. Almost a little too even, but that's okay. And then I'll use this a little tiny bit thicker here. Like chunks of road or something being kicked up. I'm just kind of like almost too even, but that's all right. You can kind of see maybe kick some like square piece of wood or dust or something along those lines. Let's get this marker here. I really want to emphasize this side here. Just give it some depth, especially when it kind of comes around, maybe underneath his arm a little bit. And definitely underneath here. And maybe down here a little bit. There, it's coming along pretty nicely. Maybe underneath here. There you go. Yeah, I mean, if I stop right here, I'd actually be pretty happy with it. With any type of drawing, I want to be confident with some action lines. Let's add some detail here since we have this thinner marker. Doesn't have to be perfect circles because they're kind of moving on his clothes. Maybe I'd fix that a little bit, but not that big a deal. Let's go underneath here with this. There'd definitely be some shade underneath his chin there. Emphasize with certain parts. That seems like the darkest, so I'm definitely going to fill in that mouth so the eye doesn't go all the way down there. So this is kind of his tongue, so let's just fill this all in here. Actually, we can just, yeah, let's do that. First, I was going to create like a little circle here and see how that looks. But considering we already have that, it might be a little bit confusing. It'd be like multiple things. Maybe he's eating something. There you go. Yeah, Snubbull's really come along nicely here. Let's try a thinner one for this. Yeah, that works. If anything, I might just add a little bit more detail on the side. And, you know, little details here. You know, these are just kind of marks showing like he's not perfect. He or she's not perfect, you know, maybe kind of messes around with stuff there. Can emphasize that a bit more. Those teeth seem a bit thick. You know, that's the only problem. We never want to have anything be too uniformed. So that's why I like using this, using the thinner marker to kind of add small little details here and there. You know, that these small low lines kicking up and so forth. But yeah, small little things here and there. But that is pretty much it. Connect some of these lines. You know, maybe we would just show kind of like some action lines moving, you know, not just down here, not just the rubble, but other things too. Kind of don't be afraid to overlap certain elements. You know, if I had to go back and do this again, maybe I'd make this line a little thinner. So I like bringing this underneath here. Yeah, I definitely make that that part a tiny bit thinner. And there you go. Maybe some other elements in the garment, some different cuts. But that's Snubbull, kind of moving in action, you know, really kind of emphasizing things working back in space. You know, some of these lines are, and you never want them to end too abruptly, a bit thick. They don't always have to connect, but definitely not, never want to be perfect, like a perfect square at the end of something. Okay, like I said, Snubbull, I could keep drawing, keep rendering. That's it. Hope you enjoy it. Please like the video, subscribe if you want to see more pack openings and drawings. That's about it. Thank you.